Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 40 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet line of sewing machine products. And today I'm going to play around with showing you different techniques of making cloth napkins for your holiday or just for the sake of having cloth napkins. Hi, Cindy and Picola. I think we talked this morning. Am I correct? Because if you put where you're from, I'll know. And hi, Sylvia. Hi, Tina from Texas. It is you. And all right, well, hi, Sharon. There's always people coming on gradually as the first few minutes begin. And I was actually being a good girl and about to oil my machine. I felt like looking at my sea turtle today, and the sea turtle is on the front of the machine because I'm going to paint a painting of a sea turtle, like a big painting of it. So there's my little sea turtle, and if you see his mouth is right there, and I made it so that this opens right where his mouth opens. Because everybody's sewing machine should be colorful and more exciting than white, right? Are any of you daring enough to paint your sewing machine? Because there is a video on creativefeet.com on how to paint your sewing machine, and a group inside of my free online school where I plan to open it and then be in there and chatting with you guys, and maybe have you guys follow along with me painting my Baby Lock Destiny, which is gigantic. Hi, Dawn from Billings, Montana. Welcome. Okay. Have any of you ever made cloth napkins before? If you have, go ahead and do a thumbs up in the chat. I got a annoyed eye today, so I'm not upset, I'm not crying, but it'll seem like I am throughout the session, and I have to leave. I can't run late because I have somewhere to be, so I can't talk too long. This is a fabric that I already had ready, and because we're doing new photos for creativefeet.com. See how pretty that stitch is? So this is one way of making napkins, where you have the print on one side and the print on the other. And you finish it off with a satin stitch. And the way you do that is you use our stuttering, our Fuse and Fuse. So this is a fusible stabilizer you've seen me use a lot. And you iron it to one side of your fabric and then peel off the release liner after it's cooled. And then you're able to then do the same, take this other layer of fabric and put it on top. So instead of having your applique be on top, you're just basically taking your two fabrics and putting them on top of one another. Chase was just in here. You don't eat any leftovers of Tinkerbells, okay? You be a good boy. Come here. You want to say hi? He's been like a little needy today. He wants to say hi. This is my noise maker. Right, Chase? Are you my noise maker? You are. You're a good boy. Be a good boy, and afterward I'll give you a treat. Okay? Okay, be a good boy. No kisses. No. There you go. Go lay down. He's been like that. Came up for a couple hugs today. I don't know what's going on. You're not leaving. Go lay down. Hi, Dawn. And Sandra from Washington State. All right. And if Christine is hiding in the background, I spoke with you yesterday, and you aren't going to show your name on the chat, hi. And everybody else that I got to talk to over the last week or so, Had a lot of really good conversations. I hope you're all doing well and that you're starting to feel like doing some celebration for the holidays. I mean, Halloween hasn't even arrived yet. I'm not usually this ahead of schedule with my projects, but I think I covered Halloween pretty well. Did any of you attempt any of the techniques that I showed over the last 3 weeks of the Halloween techniques? This is one of my educational specials, and it has all 3 of the creative feet in it and the accessory guides for the sequins and ribbon foot. And inside of here is a USB flash drive with our book and video on it. And this is the cutter pillar. Now, this is October 21st, 2021. Hey, sorry. I don't know why I get so much joy out of 21 and then 2021. Do any of you feel like that? Maybe the little girl in me comes out. Right now, the Ultra is sold out. And they informed me that they're trying to have them back in before Christmas. I would definitely not wait to order because just because they are going to get them in doesn't mean they won't all be sold out by the time they come in. And then we also have the other 2. Those are available, pretty much everything for the others except for the totes. I believe they told me the totes are out. But when you go to our website and you click on something, it'll say out of stock on it or only 3 left. And let's see what else. The wooden pressers. I'm making some tomorrow. If you want those for gifts, even though I'm the one that makes it, you want to make sure that you don't wait to the last minute for something like that because I actually hand make them for you. If you're not familiar with what they are, they're these beautiful wooden tools that I hand make with a lathe. And see how there's no crease there right now? So we can just fold this in half and press. I don't really want a crease right there. But there is a sharp crease. I put it in the wrong spot. We'll do it here. So it gives you you could pleat pants. Put that pleat down the front of a pair of pants if you want with it. And they do come in a variety of different colors. So I'm making those tomorrow. Friday tends to be the day I do that. I'm a little distracted today because if all goes well, I shouldn't even tell you. We'll just wait. It'll be something for next week. Just in case I change my mind between now and then. But if I don't, there'll be exciting news next week. Okay. Hi, Mary from Buena Park, California. So what I thought I'd do is show you something I did years ago when I was at the International Quilt Festival. And a television show did a little commercial with me, where I made a napkin by using a fabric, taking parts of it off, and then putting it onto another fabric. And I would have liked to have had this cut out beforehand, but as usual, I never stop working. And I don't have a crew of people to... I don't like using black fabric because all the batting lint and chase hairs show up. But it is the most dramatic. And I had some fabric out. Let's see. See what you think, because I love your opinion. Should I use black? I have a lot of fall color fabrics. But even the brown has the batting fuzz, and I don't know if anything will represent it as good as black though. What do you guys think? Come on, you're supposed to vote. I don't remember teasing Tina, but apparently I did. The brown kind of looks nice. But I was trying to get away from really light colors, so let's see. And here's what's fun about this. If you're using cotton fabrics, you can have one side of your napkin be this color and the other side be that color. Whichever side you put this on would be the side that faces out. You guys think that's orange. It says rust, or yeah, it looks rusty to me. I don't think it's going to be the pumpkin because it's fun. Well, congratulations to Sylvia, your goodies arrived. You're not the one I forgot to put the handles in, did you? Are you? I'm usually pretty good about that. I'm starting to tape the handles inside so that it's a part of the packaging process because they're little. So the black or the rust? I'm going to use black because then the pumpkin will show up. Okay. So you guys doing any special entertaining for Thanksgiving? Black it is. Even though it's covered in lint. So since I'm going to use a completely different technique to finish the edge of this napkin than this, I'm going to show you this. Do a little stitching on it because the process is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Fusible webbing on your fabric before you cut your napkin out. Then you iron it to another piece of fabric. So I didn't have to use the same fabric on both sides of this. I could have used a complementary fabric and had it be really pretty when you go to fold your napkin. And our Fuse and Fuse is super soft, so it will leave a soft filling napkin so people will feel like they can use them. Another option is to use fabrics that are intended for garments, something like a gabardine, and then you can finish the edge of it without having to fuse at all. And gabardine holds up really well and stitches out really well with our Satinedge foot, which is what I'm going to show you. And the Satinedge foot is the foot I designed for a woman who was born blind and deaf. Her name was Mary. And she was taking tailoring at the Braille Institute when we met. Some of you could probably tell this story because you've heard it so many times. And the reason I tell it is, first off, it is Mary that inspired me. Anytime I feel like I'm going to give up on something, I think about her. And how can I give up on anything? If somebody who never had the ability to see or hear is tailoring, hard to complain. And I'm looking for the bobbin that I already had wound. Hopefully it'll pop up. Because apparently I didn't put it where it belongs. And I could hear some of you thinking, well, that's because you're Claire and you never have anything where it's supposed to be when we go live. Just did this. Seems like I wouldn't put it far away. Now, if you were to use a different color bobbin thread from the top, on the top it would look the same color, but on the back you would have like a hint of another color running through it, which can also be an attractive look if that's what you're going for. You know where I know where the bobbin is. It's in the machine I used last week, which I took off the table and put on the floor. If you have a Bernina sewing machine, you're going to use a Bernina adapter in addition to what's in the package. You have more than one option if you have a Bernina. If you have an older Bernina, it has a rounded backside. And older meaning before embroidery machines. And then you attach one of our little adapters onto it and it snaps on to the foot. And that in essence makes your Bernina sewing machine a universal snap-on foot machine capable of attaching other universal snap-on feet on. FOF machines, the same thing. You'll take your machine's snap-on adapter off, put ours on in its place, and then it snaps right on to your sewing machine. So while I grab my sewing machine, I'm just getting the bobbin, but I still like to do this so that if anybody's popping in late, of course you can't really be late. Only I can be late, right? Hi, Amy. Better days. Grabbing a bobbin. Oh, there's a dog in the way. Really? This has been a thing with you the last couple of days. Oh, it's not the right bobbin. That's not what I did. I know you want to do that, but you can't. Okay, well, that's not where it was, but I needed to grab something else. So I kind of snuck away because actually, I'm going to be honest, the pinky nail popped off and I didn't want to have that all the way through a live video because it would distract me. So I just glued it back on and have no idea where I put my bobbin, so I'm just gonna wind a bobbin. Oh well. Not one of my better days. Better days. Yes, we're making napkins today. If I can ever get my brain screwed on. I'm distracted by something exciting. And I got a bunch of loose bobbins sitting here, but not the one I need. I'm going to use an 80-12 needle because we're working, are we? Am I? I was thinking about doing a little embroidery with metallic thread. Not embroidery, something else, unique. Something you can do with the Octi-Hoops. So I'm going to combine the feet today. I think the only one I won't be using is pearls and piping. What did I just hear in my ear? A new sound I've never heard before. I'm going to do the right thing and put my bobbin where it belongs. Whoops. Oh, if only God gave me longer arms. Hope you're not hearing me struggle to breathe. I'm not telling you, Amy. But I am curious to see if I got an email. I could find out while we're live if I can tell you guys what I have planned. You know what I'm not going to worry about? I'm just going to use one that's close in color. Yeah. I made a decision. Hi, Brenda from Kentucky. Welcome. I have a secret. Neener, neener. All right. My daughter knows. She's the only one that knows. All right. So you've probably seen me do lots of napkins or lots of satin stitching on the edge. And I get the question a lot. I need help turning corners. So I figure I will be real slow on the machine so you can really get an idea of how to turn a corner on a satin stitch on the edge of the fabric. And I only have one corner left on this napkin, so I gotta make it count. You know why I switched machines? Because this one's needle threader works. I wanted to use the butterfly machine. Another reason I'm using this one is because the thread cutter also works. I have probably another 25 sewing machines that I could choose from, but they all will be needing some major service before I run them. Here's the thing, I can't check my email and watch the chat. Besides, you're going to find out. You're just not going to find out today. It takes a lot to make me this loopy, though. Okay, so here is my machine's snap-on adapter, and this is what my machine will use to snap the foot on. If you go to snap it onto your machine and it doesn't snap on to your machine's adapter because yours is either wider than our bar or narrower, then you'll select one of the adapters that comes with the foot to attach it to your machine. Hi, Shirley from Alberta. Yeah, Claire, what? This is live, you guys. But even though it's live, it's then there for permanent, and people pop in and watch this, a year later, and then they don't get that it's not live. So I'm not going to be confusing anyone down the line. That's one excuse. First off, I just got to make sure it's going to actually happen. I don't want to say something and then you be disappointed that I didn't end up doing it. You want to find out today? Well, you're in the school. If you're one of the students in the school, you'll find out today. How's that? Deal? And remember, the school is free to join, and I notified everyone of the live session today in there. This is part of the school, is that I go live every Thursday and I teach you stuff and you get to participate in the chat. And I know some of you are missing the live Zoom type chat, and I'll do my best to set one of those up soon. I have a really bad habit of throwing my thread over here and then having it catch on to me. And dogs like to eat polyester thread. Not all dogs and not all the time, but I've always kept that in mind and tried to keep spools and thread off the floor. So I'm using a zigzag stitch, setting the width of it, and a zigzag stitch is just a zigzag. You guys are spoiled. I think you get to know everything that's going on with me. This was last project's pattern. Can't see it, it's too big. Part of it. Did any of you do the cat? Huh? Did you? If you guys aren't going to sew, I'm not going to tell you my secret. Just trying to find a piece of paper. You know what I found today, you guys? I got so excited. I found this, the skirt. Do you remember when I was looking for this skirt? And this is all done with the sequins and ribbon foot. Oh, it's when I did the little doll. What's her name? American Doll skirt. So this is the grown-up version of the broomstick skirt. And this was created by one of my now friends, but customer. She came up to me in 1991, because International Quilt Festival, first time I did that show was 1990. And she walks up to me and she goes, "See what I make with your creative feet?" And I said, "I want one." Because she made it sound like she makes them for a living. And she goes, "But I'm wearing it." And I go, "I know, but I want one." And she goes, "But I'm wearing it." And I go, I was just, trying to get her to sell me one. Not the one she was wearing. And she goes, "Okay, I got jeans in the car. I'll go change." And she changed and she let me buy the one off her body. If you're watching, Joyce, see, I still show your beautiful work. One of the stories that makes me smile. You remember seeing that, Amy, at a show before? It was in my booth at all shows. Except for one where, actually it was like 3, because she took it. She came up to me at a show. I should have thrown that pin away last week. She came up to me at a show and she said, "It's lost its crinkle. Let me take it and the way it wrinkles." And she goes, "It's lost its wrinkle. Let me take it and I'll give it back to you." And I thought she was going to give it back to me that show. And I called her up a few months later. I'm like, "Can I get the skirt back?" And she didn't know that I was needing it right away. So there's the end of that story. For those of you who are new to sewing, a zigzag stitch looks like this on your sewing machine. Zig, zag, zigzag. So it's like a repeating Z. And stitch length is up and down, and stitch width is side to side. So on the width, you have your choice of making it small, medium, and big. Now, if you didn't spend a lot on your machine, you probably don't have the really large zigzag. And the sewing machine foot, the Satinedge foot, has a limit to how big of a zigzag you can use on the foot because of the opening in the foot. I was so frustrated when they canceled Long Beach. Were you there in my booth the time when we were all so cold everyone was wearing my quilts? We were under an air conditioning vent and everyone was teeth chattering cold, and then the next day they didn't have the air conditioning blowing on us, and I was like, "What? We suffered all day and we could have We could have not had that blown on us, apparently, because it wasn't the rest of the show. Back to the lesson. So the stitch width and the stitch length, and the stitch length is going to spread your zigzag out if you make it longer. If you want to make it like you see on a napkin, well, then you want to have the stitches come really close to each other. If you want a solid satin stitch, well, that's the hardest to achieve on any fabric. So if you struggle to achieve that, know that you're not alone. And the main reason people have trouble getting a satin stitch to be maintained close is that they put their hands on the fabric and rest your hands on the fabric. As you rest your hands on the fabric, you're stopping the fabric from being pulled through by the feed dogs. So the best way to do a satin stitch is to let go. And that's easier said than done for some of us. You were there when we were freezing? You know, there's been several instances of that. But that was the first time that it had ever happened in my career. All right, so now I'm selecting a zigzag stitch. And I can't point the cameras at the machine, or I would. And I'm choosing a width of 3.5 because I'm pretty much just leave it at what it's set at most of the time. I'm pretty sure this is 3.5 millimeters. And the stitch length, to set the stitch length, you don't want to set up the stitch length using a different fabric or different thread or different needle. You want to make sure that the exact same item you're going to sew and everything is set up exactly the same for setting it up. Or when you go to put the real item in there, it won't have the same reaction, and it will simply be because it's scientific. It must be done in a particular way. I gotta move this over a little so I can get to the hand wheel. This machine is big and my arms are short. So the settings are that you bring the needle down in the right swing of the zigzag stitch, and then you move the wire over to the needle. So this is the needle and this is the wire. And the wire or guide pin is this little metal piece in there that goes through the needle area, which can be intimidating. So when you turn this, it moves the wire, also known as the guide pin. and I originally called it the guide pin. And then it's made from piano wire, so my brain says both all the time. Apologize for that. This is a deep channel beneath the foot that allows the thread to pass beneath it. And the pin is actually not touching the bottom, nor is it sticking out past these skis, is what they're called. And this is the toe when it sticks out, but it's the ski when it's on the base or the sole of the foot. Something is making noise that I'm not used to hearing. It's very distracting. Oh, my battery. But you're plugged in. Aren't you plugged in? Whoops. Why isn't this working? Oh, my Bluetooth battery is low. Okay. That makes more sense. All right, sorry guys. I have to wear my right ear, which is not something I usually do. Now something opened. Oh. I just made something else happen. I hope this doesn't affect the video. Okay. I don't think there's been a week where there hasn't been something. I was really hoping, because today my intro went pretty well. The microphone worked. Okay, so This represents the sewing machine needle. This represents the wire or guide pin on the foot, and you choose the width of your stitch and bring your needle down in the right swing of the zigzag stitch and then move the guide wire over to it. The left swing goes on the fabric. The right swing goes over the wire. You place the wire off the fabric's edge, always off the fabric's edge when doing this technique, because this foot can do 27 different things for you. I'll say it. This foot does top stitching, edge stitching, pin tucking, invisible applique, stitching in a ditch, charted needle design without the use of knitting needles, cut works without the use of a hoop, wire edges, fishing line edges, lettuce edging, trapunto applique, blanket stitch applique, edge joining, t-shirt hemming, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it also hand sews for you, which is what you see on the binding video that's in our YouTube channel and also available on creativefeet.com should you want to have my binding technique in your computer and not have to look through the hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. I can still say it even though I haven't done a show. It also does more than that. That's just the part that runs off my tongue. So I have my needle down in the right swing and I'm turning the nut, moving the guide wire over to the sewing machine needle, and this is something that I wish you could see better with this camera. But it is limited to what that camera can actually see. Once you know that your needle is that the needle is to the right of the guide pin, this was the side that was top before. It's going to be a different color though. You want to turn the hand wheel again and make sure you didn't bend the sewing machine needle with that wire because it's a piano wire. It's not going to break. So this next stitch is critical. This is where it could come down and hit it. So I did it right. Because what really happens is the needle comes down and the wire is touching it, not almost touching. So if you're not getting the result that you like from this foot, it may be that you have decided that I didn't mean to say that the guide and the wire should be touching one another, but they should. Because when the needle is down, the big part of the needle, the longest part, the majority of the needle is wider than the tip of the needle. So when you lower the needle, you're actually at the widest point of the needle. So when you come back up, because it's super strong, it could bend your sewing machine needle. And when you bring your needle up, then it comes back down, the needle straightens out, and it can hit that. If you've ever broken your needle on this, that's probably what you did. And in the learning process, you just tend not to, well, some of you just don't read the directions at all. So once you know that you have not bent that and it's feeding, then you sew without holding on. And sew to see that it's feeding. And if you don't like the stitch length, then you shorten it a little bit at a time. And I know that I'm pretty sure this fabric, but I don't know which machine I was using when I did it. So that has an effect on it as well. So 0.3 is working for me. And my hands are not touching the fabric at all. Both of them, see? It's like, look, Mom, no hands. And this is something I have done at shows in order to go to the ladies' room because people never leave my booth. I would sometimes run the machine all by itself, take off the foot control and push the start button and have it on slow. And I could run to the ladies' room and back. If any of you have ever been in my booth when I did that, you can say, yeah, I definitely saw her do that. Hi, Veronica. Are you the one that I didn't put the handles in? I can't remember. All of a sudden, I have 3 Veronicas, which it's not that common of a name. So you may find that you will be bored because there's really nothing for you to do. You can hold the fabric up, but don't get your hands on top, and never put your hand behind the foot and in front of it, because if you do, what happens is the foot because if you hold here and there, it then makes the fabric push away from the foot. They kind of reflect one another. The stitch is wrapping around the guide wire, which is why I can let go. So they all become connected to one another. That is if you open the package and actually use it. This is a great excuse to try it. You are the one. Sorry, Veronica. I'm distracted by something that I'm very excited about. And so that's what happened. Now I'm going to go all the way down to the edge of the fabric and I'm going to reverse. So all the way down and then back up. And if you can't get your fabric to feed backwards, then just lift the foot up and push the fabric back, because you want to go all the way to the edge, but you want to be connected to the fabric when you make this next move. So next thing you're going to do is raise the foot and then pull the fabric off the wire. And I didn't go all the way to the edge simply because I can't see through the microphone and the light. So if you ever do that, this is what you do. Now the foot has not changed its position. When you use the Satinedge Foot, you're going to find that it's not the easiest thing to turn the nut to move the wire, and that is deliberate. Because if the nut could turn easily when the feed dogs hit the bottom of the foot, it would loosen that nut and the guide could move left and right. That is what's wrong with all the other feet that have guides. The nuts are easy to move and the guide moves and you don't know that's happening. You just blame everything on yourself, but really it's the foot not doing the good job for you. It's okay because you ordered so much. So it's your fault that I didn't put the handles in the Octi-Hoop kit. We just can't keep up with sales right now. I'm doing assembly and packaging. So once you go all the way to the edge of the fabric, you have to disconnect the foot from the fabric. That's what I did by pulling the fabric away from me, which is the opposite of what I just did, if you're analyzing that. Because I can do everything backwards after years of shows. So even though I had the foot set, I'm just double checking. Because sometimes I turn the nut unconsciously, especially when I'm teaching. Which apparently I did because the needle was going to hit it. One of these days I just want to see that on video. That I should watch this one back and see. On a corner where you have all that stitching that it has to come back over, you're going to feel like pushing to help it, because the feed dogs are only connected right there. All this other area, the feed dogs are just on the bottom of the foot. And this foot, even though it's plastic, you won't get any teeth marks from your feed dogs. So you don't have to worry about that. So instead of pushing, we increase the stitch length. Remember this one here. So if you have an L and it shows a picture where it shows the stitch length spreading out like that, you want to make it longer. So I started out at a 0.3, which is really short. And now I'm taking it up to a 0.6 to see if it can pull through so that I don't get stuck on the corner. And it does appear to be stitching. I'll go a little bit longer. It's not moving as fast as it should. So now I'm at 0.8. And I should have had my pressure loosened. So now I'm going to go to 1. This is why it's good to practice. Make a little one first. And then once you see that it is feeding, now you shorten it back down to the 3. Well, I heard some very sad stories from vendors, Debbie, about that show. Were you there all the entire show? And did they still do the same thing, the night and then the 4 days? Pacific International Quilt Festival has been a struggle for many years because of the fires that you guys were having. I miss all of you at shows, I really do. There's just a limit to the amount of traveling any human should do in their lifetime, I think, and I reached it. And this is what makes the creative feet so unique to other feet. Our feet actually do the guiding for you. So I can prepare my fabric. Now I have used the glue to secure my fabric before, and I've also used fusible webbing. And I'm going to use fusible webbing because I want to know that after it's laundered that it's going to be permanently held to. I actually have always wanted to make a whole set of these napkins, and I plan on doing that this year. And I also thought about making my sister something. She's doing Thanksgiving this year. I'm bringing the turkey though. But I'm usually the one that does Thanksgiving. How about you guys? Are any of you usually the one that does the turkey? If you are, and the more you communicate in the chat, the more the YouTube algorithm thinks you're having a good time. So if you're the one that does Thanksgiving, say something. So they still had all those hours, and were you there all the days, Debbie? Or did you only attend on Thursday? Got the Applique scissors back in stock if you guys were waiting for those. And we're officially out of all stick and rinse now. So I usually would use stick and rinse for this, and I'm going to, since we don't have any right now, I'm going to show you an alternative. We can still do our own little Thanksgivings, can't we? To decide where to cut on something like this. Now, if you tried to applique this, can you imagine trying to stitch around all of these little intricate designs? That's not something that you can do unless you're doing it by hand. Normally. Where's the one that I did? It doesn't matter, Claire. Just pick a pumpkin. I have to boss myself around sometimes. This is a nice little display. And this is when I can't stand the idea of just cutting this square to grab that. So I'm going to iron first and cut afterward. Get the iron out. Pay attention where I'm putting all these, Amy. I know it's your job to help me find something when I can't remember where I put it. I actually put my scissors back where they belong. I think I'm getting better at not losing things. I wonder if I can charge that. It's all right. Mother-in-law does Thanksgiving. My sister was funny this year. She calls me up and she goes, "You'll love knowing that you don't have to do Thanksgiving this year." And I say, "You can say that all you want, but I really love doing Thanksgiving." That's her way of taking control, taking my holiday. And I said, "Well, I already have the turkey, so I'm bringing the turkey." I really don't mind, though. still get to be there and cook the food that I cook. I wonder if I can check my email. Hold on one sec. Let's see. I can still hear the video. No notifications. Still can't tell you what's going on. The thing is I changed machines and then I pulled things out of that machine and just threw it over here. So sorry about the disorganization. And I'm waiting for the iron to heat up, which is partly why I did that. Fuse and Fuse is the dragonfly. And I'm trying really hard to get everything that my son needs to add everything that we're adding to the site, which I got him all the sewing machine information. I'm not sure why he hasn't put those up yet, but it takes a while to add things. It's hot. I checked. What do I cook? I'm the turkey. I'm the turkey. I'm the one that normally cooks the turkey. Everybody prefers my turkey. So no matter whose house Thanksgiving's been at, unless we went to New Jersey where my sister Kathy lives, no matter what, I'm in the kitchen. And I make a marinade for the turkey, and I inject it, and I marinate it over 4 days. It's really, really juicy and tender when it's done. In fact, my mom, when I first made it, thought I didn't cook it enough because it wasn't dry. I could give you guys my recipe for my marinade if you guys would like that. I do plan on at some point having my own seasonings, because I was allergic to garlic and couldn't use any seasonings, so I made my own blends, and I would travel with them because I would actually tell them at a restaurant not to put any seasoning on things, and they go, "Oh, really?" And I go, "Don't worry, I have my own." And I've even had some chefs come out and take a little bit and taste it, and they're like, "That's really good." And so I blend it down into a powder, so it assimilates into the food almost immediately, so that you can inject it into a turkey and it doesn't clog up your syringe. Well, this is way off topic. Hopefully I'm not annoying anybody. If I am, I apologize. I'm normally more stable. There's no way I have to... All right, I can do this. Just have to think this through. I'll just grab that. Oh, I can see the other side. Keep that in mind. Because I was thinking I had to flip it over. Oh, that's actually not bad either. You can use this side as well as an alternative to that side. So now I can pin, this is all I was trying to do, figure out where I was going to fuse some of this. Now the question is, could I see that with the cutter pillar? And I might be able to. Oops, I'm not taking a break. Oopsie, oopsie. No break here. I'm just gonna so now we just fuse that. Make sure you don't use steam when you have a paper, because steam will shoot out from beneath the paper, in between the iron and the paper, and could burn you. No sugar. No sugar. I'm a sugar-free cooker. You need to have somebody else wash your bottles, Dawn. This has got steam coming out of it. I did not mean to do that. I am going to need the iron again to iron this on, and also after I sew this on, I'm going to fuse the two fabrics together, then go around and finish the napkin. That way nobody can see the stitching that I'm about to put on this pumpkin. And I'm going to use the Octi-Hoops to applique the pumpkin, because we don't have a foot, and we can go all the way around that edge with a straight stitch, making this a lot easier to do. So normally you would leave the paper on and cut, but I don't want to use my regular scissors. I want to use my Applique scissors. They're so much better for this type of project. So I am going to end up cutting this fabric anyway. Ugh, terrible. Can never have too many pairs of scissors, right? Problem is, the recipe includes the seasoning that I do. I just want to tell you so bad. Okay. Some of you may not be happy about my news. Now I'm really upsetting you. There's still a chance I'll get an email before we end the show today. Okay, so why did I do that after trying not to cut the fabric? I am going to remove the paper, and then this fabric is going to be almost undetectable that there's any fusing on it. So I'm going to put a clip on it so I know that this fabric has fusible on the other side, because every bit of this to me is gold. It's cool. So now I can remove the paper. And this is when the Applique scissors are super beneficial to you. What are you cooking? I have a shake. It's a shake day. I'll take a sip really quick. I'm not using a straw today. So you have a spot for all your fingers in these scissors. See how I can let go of them and they don't, where you would normally have it fall. If you open your hand, take your thumb out and then it falls. So you can, I got some acrylic paint under my fingernail. Apologize for that. So being able to take your thumb out and have control of your scissors is important. Why are they upset? Because I have a secret. All right, so we're going like this. And my hand normally gets really tight right here. If it doesn't happen, then you're just going to be upset and it's going to be live. I will be notifying you guys in the school. It is not sewing related, but it's exciting news for me. As soon as I know, I will notify you guys in the school. How's that? So you're not upset with me. Whereas normally I would. So you can see what I'm doing here. If I now have to turn a really sharp turn. So the scissors holding the fabric for me. And these are the scissors designed for patchwork applique. So for those of you who have the patience to do needle turn or patchwork applique, these scissors make it easier on your body. I saw this quilt. I can't get it out of my mind. And it is actually like someone did artwork and they turned it into a quilt. These are the medium-sized scissors. The medium-sized scissors, my favorite for cutting intricate designs. The large scissors are also serrated, but they're a little bit big for my hand. The blade is really only that the blade is an inch longer. Everything else is the same size. But it is a big difference in how they are for me. So it looks a lot bigger, right? But if you put them on top of each other. You can see that. So these are a lot heavier, but they're also better for doing long cuts. Like if you're going to miter your quilt binding. These are great for cutting. Cutting through 2.5-inch strip pieces. Absolutely. My go-to scissor for that. Especially when you got to do a king-size quilt. So I'm periodically checking my email, and if I get news today, no news yet. No news is good news. Or so they say. Sorry I couldn't have had this cut out already beforehand. For those of you who you prefer to have a really fast video, this is something you can fast forward through after the live has ended. Another thing I wanted to do, and I still probably will, because there's still a lot of time before Thanksgiving, is one of you asked for me to do something for gratitude, or what was the word you used? Being thankful. I can't remember who it was last week, but you're probably here. I'm pretty sure it was one of you. So I was going to create a design that you can ink the fabric for that, and maybe do a large for underneath the turkey, like a placemat, but make it large. And ink it so that the words "be grateful" or are around the border, so that when the turkey's there, everybody gets to see some version of gratitude. What do you think? Think that's a good idea? And I will be inking next week on the show, and then I will finish it up the week after that with the sewing part. Give you a hint. It would be so fun to see your faces right now. Just know I'm dying to tell you. I really feel like it's the right thing for me to do right now. But I don't know the answer yet. And here's how it works for me. If this doesn't go through, then it means I'm not to do this right now. So I won't like go with a different situation to make it happen. I will just take it as a sign that is not the right time for me to do that. Oh my goodness, come on, Claire. But I'm pretty sure it's going to go. You love that idea? Which one of you said it last week? Hi, Lorinda from Hood River. I always have a trouble saying river after Hood. Something to do with my brain. It's really up to me how much of this detail I add to my napkin. And just know that this is something you could use this technique in a quilt that I'm doing. All right, let's cut some of that off. So these are the Applique scissors that allow me to spin around, and best done with your elbows down on the table as well. Can you imagine doing a satin stitch around a shape like that? Sorry, I was hearing something weird outside. Here we go. Oh, there, I did it again. I'm not going to go and do that corn husk. This is when I want to be lazy, because I feel like I'm making you guys stare at me cut fabric and it's boring. All right. And I analyze the fabric and I go, okay, what can I eliminate and have it still look like it's done? And you can see some areas where those other leaves are coming into it, and I'll show you how I will camouflage that or make it not as noticeable. So on this, I want these brown leaves because that's a whole leaf and that's a cherry. So pretty sure that's a cherry. I have this tree in my yard. No, I don't. That's holly. But I have a tree that has these, and I think they're rose hips. Do any of you have experience with rose hips? I thought I had separated that. Ugh, I almost chopped through my leaf. See, I have my Christmas fabric out, but I'm like, nope, no Christmas yet. It's Thanksgiving. I've got a lot of Christmas fabric. If you've ever cut something as intricate as this before, you know that it can be very tiring on your hands. And I tend to cut better going the scissors on the right hand side of the road. So being able to cut in like that instead of being forced to flip the fabric around and go the other way is nice. Also, had someone who's left-handed buy these. She got them and she's like, they work fabulous left-handed. And I was able to cut left-handed, and I'm not left-handed. So here I'm gonna kind of make it look like that leaf was like that, because I kind of like having that. And we're done with that. Now look how striking that is on there. Isn't this a fun project? I mean, don't you think? And I also like the idea of making a blouse and doing that for Thanksgiving. Maybe have this be, what do you think? I got so many ideas and not enough time. It's really little. Is it an apple? It looked like a cherry. It's whatever we want it to be. It is an apple, huh? Because that's a pumpkin. Well, I hope you guys actually take pictures of your projects and share them. Somebody shared a quilt, and everybody is commenting. I try really hard to remember everyone's name and what you did, and many blessings. Does many blessings ring a bell? Hi, Linda loves to sew. I don't know. Is it something that, did I talk to you on the phone? All right, so here's the trick on making napkins. You usually cut your napkins out after you've applied fusible webbing to the entire fabric, which is why we're going to be adding an 18-inch size roll. And if any of you are wanting it before it gets on our site, you can call to order it so that you don't have to endure doing the smaller sizes and doing a strip of it and a strip of it. And I don't think I even have the 18 in here. Why would I have what I need? I'm going to start with this though, because I don't need to do the fusing yet. Many blessings. Now I want to know what you're talking about. So when I designed the napkin, I placed it, I thought about how I would want to fold the napkins, and I positioned it so that it was in a corner. Since I already showed you how to do a satin stitch around the edge, I may switch, and I just want to make placemats out of this technique. But I said I'd do napkins today, and I'm going to show you another technique with this before I move on to this, because I talked about showing you several different finishes in the description, and I don't want to let you down. Here's one that is just fall-ish, so it's not Thanksgiving, and you could do the same thing with this. I think this just pretty much opens up your fabrics when you go to the store and you think, that's not just a fabric now, that's an applique, because you can do any shape you want with the Octi-Hoops. It doesn't have to be rounded or squared off. Did the chat freeze? Nope, you guys are just not very active today. Now it's okay to use steam when the paper's gone. Make it real nice, secure. bond between the fabric and the applique. Time to clean the iron. Some spray starch or minerals from the water came out. Yep. Oh, it'd be so pretty on a tablecloth too. To have that hang off the side of your tablecloth, wouldn't it? I could see doing the whole thing. You would only need a yard of that fabric to do a whole bunch of different things for your house. And Chase does not like it when I tear the fabric. Every time I do it, he sits up and looks at me. Okay. Before we do that, back to this sewing machine, and I'm going to show you an alternative to just this traditional satin stitch. You're not going to answer me, Linda? You wrote many blessings, ring a bell. Does And are you using different types of fabric, Amy? Because usually the backside of your napkin doesn't have the same appearance as the top. So now I am going to disconnect the foot, lift and pull off, move it over. And now I'm going down to a 1.5 millimeter wide. Oh. Oh, I see what you're saying. It does ring a bell. I don't know. I'm still confused by it. I'll have to go in the school and check it out. If something happened today in there, I missed it. The person I'm waiting for a response from said she'd be busy today. I probably won't get an email from her until tomorrow. So now I'm using this side of the guide and I'm writing it up against the satin stitch. And I'm using a smaller satin stitch that's just going to go over the wire. And this will keep me consistently the same distance away from this stitch. I'm going to go a little bit longer because it's always going to be riding over that. So I'm at 0.4 right now. We'll see if it feeds. Why can't I get the pedal to go? Because I'm wearing boots. Now I'm at 0.6. And it's starting to feed, but I'm still laboring too much, so I'm at 0.8. And this is always because it's needing a longer length because of that thickness that it has to go over. Because I don't want to be pulling from behind the foot. And I think I'm doing this backwards. Can't remember. It's been so long since I did this. Guess I could have done it another way too. I'm going to go a little longer. So 0.9. So I'm going to go to the corner. Why do I feel like I'm not using the right stitch? It just acted weird. I've had weird things happen today. I don't know if it's the full moon. It's nice to have options. I think this is definitely what's going on, is I'm used to doing it the other way. I go this way. Oh well. I'm just gonna start over. We'll go this way. Yeah, that's the way I usually do it. It's kind of like you're right-handed and your brain prefers things a certain way. And I think that applies to sewing as well. Some things I just don't like doing with the fabric over here. I'd rather have the fabric over here for that. Are you guys like that? I feel a little quirky. There we go. It couldn't have to do with me looking around all this equipment in front of me. Oh, I haven't put my glasses on all morning. It's not morning. If you can find a fabric that looks good on both sides, you don't have to fuse it. This is definitely not wanting to feed, and so I'm just going to go longer and stop fighting it. 1.5 millimeter stitch length. Oh, gosh. I can't see. I usually try not to have the microphone in the way, but it's not going to take me all day if I don't feel comfortable. 1.2. Now I'm questioning if I use this foot or the pearls and piping foot. So notice my hands aren't moving. I'm in one position, and I'm not really pushing down. I'm just trying to keep it in the same position with relation to the side of the guide. Okay, then you would just go all the way around, okay, since we have too much to show today. You can see there's a stitch there. Now you can go in between that stitch using a straight stitch. Bye, Brenda. She goes every week. What time is it? I know, honey, there's lots of weird noises out there today. I'm moving my needle to the left. I know it's not 4 because the dogs immediately start coming in here at 4. You could also do a forward and reverse zigzags or straight stitch, also known as a stretch stitch. We still have to move the needle. If you can't move the needle, you can move the guide to move the position the needle is coming down on the fabric. So if you don't have lots of needle positions, the guide moves so that you in essence do have needle positions. So now in between those two stitches, I'm doing another stitch. You can also use 2 threads through the eye of 1 needle, using a longer stitch length to cover the edge of the napkin if you're into making money from your sewing. I hope this is coming out good on the camera. And you can also do that same stitch through the satin stitch that you did to create another look. I do recommend doing a straight stitch all the way around first and then doing your satin stitch over it, as that will keep the fabric from stretching after it's been washed. You guys see that well? As always, I will have pictures of the close-up of this in the school after I'm done. Isn't that a neat look? I love that. People would be going, wow, look at that. In fact, the napkin stitch when it first came out, this look right here was done with a serger first. And when Mary came into my store, Mary was the blind and deaf lady I designed this foot for. She pulls the napkin out like this, and I haven't never seen anyone turn as red as she did that day. And she had these big cheeks. And her husband had glasses that were so thick. His eyes were really big. There was a cartoon character that had those, Mr. Magoo. And they were just a darling couple. I picked them up and brought them to the store in most cases. But not this time. This time they were driven by, I can't remember who. But she comes in and she goes, well, she couldn't speak. He kind of talked for her and said she took this napkin from the restaurant last night because she felt this on the edge of the napkin and she wants to know how it was done. And I typed into this machine that we used to communicate back and forth with each other. She would feel Braille letters and I wrote, that's done with an overlock machine and you're blind. There's no way I'm selling you one of those machines because it has knives and these pointy things that swing back and forth. And then she types, I know you'll figure something out. And I could hear as if she said the words, and that is what inspired the Satinedge Foot. It haunted me until I designed it, and it's evolved over the years to its current state, which is the same it's been since 1994. So now we gotta applique this piece onto this napkin. And if we used invisible thread in the bobbin or a color that matches, you're still going to see some of the color from the top, unless you do all of it with invisible thread. Now that would be a way to not have to do a fusible on the other side, except you would be missing out on all the fun that I'm about to show you. So I'm going to use the Octi-Hoops. And since we don't have any of the stick and rinse stabilizer, if some of you have it at home, well, you're lucky. And know that we are not giving up on that. This supply chain issue that we're dealing with in the world is why we haven't got it back in yet. So, what issue I have to deal with is I want to applique this. I want to be able to stitch around it, but I don't want any stabilizer staying there. And stick and tear, which is what we usually use for embroidery, well, it's permanent and it stays in there. Our stick and rinse would stick and hold the fabric, and then it rinses away, and it's awesome. And I could show you that because I have some here, but that would just be mean of me to show you. So instead, I'm going to use Hold Light again, as Hold Light has the ability to tear away. It's lighter weight. And on a straight stitch, I can get it all off of the fabric, and it will prevent the fabric from stretching while we sew it. But I'm going to use also the stick and tear to get it to work in the hoop, because something's got to be sticky. So let's see if I have a roll wide enough. And God willing, we will not run out of stick and tear before our new run comes in. I'm just going to believe it's true. Kind of like what I did last week when I made the spider webs. I will write my biography, so you guys can hear all the stories of how all of it happened. So you can see I traced around the Octi-Hoop to make it the right shape for this particular frame, which is our largest of the 3 frames. You get 3 different sizes. The reason I chose this size is because this is a relatively large applique. And while the medium hoop would hold it, I need to get the fabric held in the hoop so that I don't stitch through the stick and tear. And in order to do that, I need the extra room to have it stick to the stick and tear, and I'm going to cut a window of this so this will not be behind this. And Hold Light is the fusible stabilizer that kind of looks like cellophane. It is the hummingbird in our stabilizers. Come on, brain. There we go. So at creativefeet.com, you would go to products and stabilizers. The white one that I'm going to attach to the hoop is the frog, the stick and tear. Stick and rinse, the dolphin, is sold out. Stable rinse as well, I believe I think I may have one more roll of that. And stable rinse and stick and rinse are both the same product, but stick and rinse has an adhesive that also washes away that attaches to it. And I promise you I will get that back in. It's one of my most important inventions. Hold Light is the one that I am going to fuse to the back of this napkin. And it is going to allow me to cut a window in that. Fuse and Fuse is what I used on the back side of the pumpkin fabric. Fuse and Stick is different. But you can see all of our stabilizers have 5-star ratings from people that have used it. This one doesn't yet, but it's not needed as much when you have our cover up. So a lot of people that used to use water-soluble stabilizer to embroider and use it as a topper now use the cover-up instead. All right, enough of that. I'm looking for my Hold Light. Just used it last week, which means it could be anywhere. But I've been trying really hard to be good. I was good. There we go. Okay, and it's the shiny side to the iron. Sorry for the noise. It was definitely noisy. So I had a cut in one corner, and then the other corner was rounded. If you're wondering why I keep flipping it around. And you need it to be bigger than the area you're going to applique. I was going to just toss it, but I'll be so much happier with myself if I fold it. This was 10 feet long. I think you guys saw me use this at the beginning of the year. So 10-foot pack lasted me this long. Now, if I use it for pattern drafting, it doesn't last as long. You can use it to trace a pattern without ever cutting your pattern. You then write everything that's on your pattern on this, and then you iron it to your fabric that you're going to sew it, and then you cut your piece out. So the piece is literally fused. The pattern piece is fused to the fabric piece. And then when you go to sew it together, then you peel it off. And it prevents lame and taffeta and any other fabric that falls apart from falling apart on you, from shredding or fraying along the edges. And so you get to sew it and then take it off. It's fabulous for that. Another instance where you don't want steam. You want to make sure that you're set to no steam. Nobody has said anything in a while. Is it still working? Are you guys still there? Hello? Hello? Is somebody eating dinner? How many of you are eating dinner right now? And there's one of you hand sews when I go live on Thursdays. I'm looking back on the chat while the iron warms up to see if I didn't miss anything. Man, you guys got excited about my marinade. I'm going to check my email. Still no response. I just got to accept it's not going to come in today. You can see how fast it bonds. Just a real quick sweep of the iron. So you don't want to keep your iron on that. I got to clear my throat. Thank you for reminding me that I turned off the microphone, Mary. Or all of you. So sorry about that. What did I say? Oh, man. Okay, I remember what I said. So in case you're wanting this fabric, this is the actual name of it. And you can screenshot with your cell phone if you're looking right now, if you know how to do that. I will source this and see if I can find a current source for it for you. I thought I was going to go a whole show without messing up on the microphone. But I remember what I said. So this is the Hold Light, and you can see how it's really shiny, and the fabric actually has like body to it. It's almost stiff, but not. And the stick and tear is going to be attached to the hoop. Then we're going to apply this to the stick and tear, but not until we cut a window. And so this kind of becomes an extension of the stick and tear stabilizer. If you're coming in, and just know that you can rewind this after the live is over. Where's my junky scissors? I must have carried them off. Oh well. You can also use a rotary cutter to cut around on your stick and tear, but remember the back of this is paper, and paper will wear out your blades on anything. Scissors, needles will also get dull from paper. That's why I teach paper piecing without sewing through the paper. If you haven't seen my method of that. It is, I believe, my most viewed video is the paper piecing without sewing through paper. It's probably not my most viewed, but it's getting up there. So annoying when this rolls back. Oh, the little annoyances. I'm pretty sure I remembered everything that I said and said it again. Unless I didn't tell you we have a fire here in Prescott. And it's making me have a little bit trouble breathing, and so I had to cough. Not sure if it's a controlled burn. These are all the things I said. So if you're hearing it again, well, you know that I said that before I turned off the mic. So you can see that even if, because we're out of the 12-inch size stick and tear right now, we will have it again. If you have a bigger roll of our stick and tear, which you can still get some of the larger sizes, know that it will be back. I just unconnected that. Well, that's not proper grammar. I shouldn't have flailed the fabric around because the Hold Light separated from it. Some fabrics have sizing in it, and I didn't wash this fabric. Good idea to wash your fabric. Highly recommend it because there are carcinogens in some of the fabric that you get. So when people ask or say you should always wash your fabric, and you're like, why? That's partly why, because some fabric is toxic. If you live in California, the rules are stricter with the state, so if you may not like your fabric anymore, it may seem a little bit wimpy, and that is because it doesn't have that. So definitely wash your fabric. You can wash it still folded inside of a lingerie bag, unless it has lots of colors in it, then it'd be better to have it be loose. All right. Now I'm going to apply the stick and tear, our green tree frog, known as the green frog stabilizer, because when COVID first hit, everyone was using our stabilizer to make masks, which I still do. Use this as the lining between the forward-facing fabric and myself for making masks, since apparently it's going to be a part of our life for a while. This is an air filter material that we use for our stick and tear. And I can tell you this, it works better than an N95 mask when I'm making your wooden pressers. The sawdust does not get into my airway. Probably because it's more flexible and you can form it to your face better. So I folded back the piece on one end, and now I apply it to one side. It's not very scientific. Then it's best if it's laying down on a surface as you pull it out. And this is not freezer paper. It would be nice if you could use it as freezer paper, but it's not. And you know what? The kind of paper that we use for that is super important for its functionality. And it's very sticky, so then I just pull and make it taut. I kind of rest my elbow on this and pull and stretch and rotate. It's repositionable. What's it called? It's called pressure sensitive. So it's not that sticky until you rub it, and then it becomes bonded to whatever you stick it to. This is why you should not try to stick this to your embroidery hoop for your regular machine. Because if you apply this to your hoop, you'll have a really hard time getting it off. That doesn't mean you can't use it with your embroidery machines. You just hoop it with the paper still on, with the paper side facing. So pretend this is your outer ring. You would take the inner ring and flip it upside down. Lay the stabilizer over so that the stabilizer side is facing up to you, and you can tell the difference because it's kind of it feels like a fiber, and the paper side is on that. And then you would take your outer ring and push down, and that helps you have the muscles you need to form it around your traditional hoop. I will be showing that at some point. And then you can hear this. And I know that, let's see how close that is in size. Okay, so that's a good governance to cut my window as big as this. Ooh, look at that. So now I can lay it right down on top. Well, that's just so easy. And you know what's really cool about this? Oh my goodness. I love it when things happen like this. I feel so smart. If I weren't honest, I would say this is how I've always done it. But now I'm, in essence, hooping 2 hoops at the same time. So this is going to be ready for an embroidery, the smaller one. Because you can see how well that holds on. And I'm going to use a rotary cutter because there's no paper. But if you have a technical knife, that would be even better. Which I have them in the other room. I'm not going to make you wait. So now I'm going to just cut around this border. Whoop. Try to stay against that hoop. This is also a method that we taught for people to do quilting on their embroidery machines. Our stick and tear stabilizer holds the quilt very well so that your machine can embroider in an empty hole. Whoops. Ta-da! I love the Octi-Hoops. They're as much a gift to me as they are to you guys. Now I have to embroider something. But you can take, to protect that, your release liner and lay it down on top so that no lint gets on it. And now that's ready for me to play with. This is a concept that we're kind of doing right now. So you could use this to make a napkin, or you can do this type of applique for the inside of a placemat. This is something I did when we were on the Home Shopping Network in between appearances. And this is the very first time I ever sewed beads on with a colored thread. And I really liked what I was seeing. So I just kept going around and around, and I was kind of bored waiting for my next appearance. And it's very elegant. I'll show you a close or a better view of it. And this is another way of doing your napkin, being inside but not right next to it. Isn't that a nice look? This is the pearls and piping foot and the sequins and ribbon foot working together to create little scrunchies to hold your napkin together. It's all pinned from hanging at shows. This is a tired, old, this is from 1996, I think. And it's very elegant. And this green fabric tastes like, okay, so no, I'm not walking around tasting fabric, but it smells like maple syrup. So I've always feel like eating pancakes after when it's near me. It still, to this day, smells like maple syrup. I'm not really sure why. Oh, you're getting a lot of stories today, aren't you? I can tell you this, Amy, I paid a lot more for my Octi-Hoops than you did. I had to make a mold and, well, let's just say, that's a whole nother story. So now I'm going to position this so that I gotta think how I can do this. The goal is to not have any of this where the white is. So I might have to go cut it a little bit in, because that was right at the edge of this. So I think I am going to just, for the sake of not having it look yucky, let's take a little more away. And for those of you who do felting, this is a way of doing felting by machine without hurting your hands. You cut this little window and lay your felting on top, and you can stitch in the opening, and instead of pushing down with your hands, it holds it down, and then you have the handle to steer so you can be more detailed in your felting. Do any of you have a felting machine? This also works fantastic on the, what's that machine called? It does a quilting straight stitch. What's it called? Oh, it's a name. The Shishiko machine. And the Shishiko machine doesn't have a, it only has a bobbin, or people had their thread break a lot using it. And with our Octi-Hoops, there's no thread breakage, so. And you can go around in a design with that stitch with it. So I got my thumbs on the outer side, and I want to make sure that I'm putting it inside of the hole. That worked. Because once this is stuck to the stick and tear, man, there's no getting these two apart from one another. They love one another. All right, we're good. So see how that works? Now we're ready to have some fun with the Octi-Hoops. What time is it? 4. Oh, I can't go past. Oh, I have to hurry. So I may I mean, I already said that, didn't I? I will start this and then, hey, you know, I could finish it next week. It has no bobbin. I knew it was one of them. So black bobbin. Lingerie thread is what I'm going to use. The black lingerie, because it pulls automatically the top thread down. It stops the bobbin thread from popping up to the top. I'm stressed about, I have to leave, literally walk out the door by 4:30. That's a half hour from now. The embellisher machine was originally called the Glennon machine, and my father and I were advisors to the company to develop that machine. A little history for you. My father and I were also advisors to Janome and Singer back in the day. Most of the people that were working for the companies have passed on. It's been that long. And the reason we were advisors is because we were one of the largest dealers in the United States. The Satinedge Foot was making us outsell all other sewing machine dealers, and so manufacturers wanted to know what we were doing. And that's why I painted my machine, because a sewing machine company decided to copy me instead of buying our feet and selling them to their customer. And I got mad and painted my machine, and that is a story I haven't told on, I don't think I've said it live before. Because I don't want you to be mad at a sewing machine company, especially when all the people involved are no longer alive. Because it's just been that long. I invented the Satinedge Foot when I was 19. I'm 58. This is a long time ago. I often forget. So I got to choose a color thread that I want to use, and I could do metallic and go all the way around it if I had a bunch of metallic colors. This one's kind of pretty. It doesn't go. You guys decide. I mean, there's no red, there's no purplish tone in that at all. I have metallic thread, I just don't know where it is. And that's not as green like this as it appears. This is almost neon looking. I think I'm just gonna use, do you think I should just use that? You can wait until next week. Aww. Ooh, I got it. I found one. Come on. There we go. Ta-da! Oh my goodness, I got so much on the floor. But I am enjoying having a pad underneath my chair, so I'm not dealing with being on the carpet. I'm going to like this, so I didn't want to use a thread I wouldn't like. Now I need to go to a 9014 needle because I'm using metallic thread. Just know that you need it and do what I say, and you'll have a better experience. Also, nylon or the metallic thread, I always put on a cone stand. I would never put that directly on the machine. And I can get away with using my needle threader with this because my machine releases the tension when it pushes it through. So nylon or metallic thread, and the reason I keep wanting to say nylon is if you stretch this thread out, it breaks, and inside is nylon thread. So it's actually wrapped around nylon thread. And it's like our nylon lingerie thread, except for it's even finer. And the reason they do that is to give it some mobility, because the metal around it is not flexible at all. So all the rules that apply to nylon lingerie thread apply to metallic thread. It is stretchy thread, so you don't want to wind a bobbin of it fast. You wind it slower. Wind a bobbin half full if you can't do that. And you can use it in the needle and the bobbin. But this is going to make this napkin rough. It's just going to be pretty. So, and I barely ever use metallic thread, so I thought I'd treat you to it today. I know, Debbie, you guys all like purple. Purple goes with everything. I have to lower the foot, even though there's no presser foot on the machine. Can you see that well? It's awfully dark with black fabric. The light's not helping. It's kind of why I want to use metallic, because I think it'll show up more in the light. So we'll bring the bobbin thread up. And then you basically trace and try not to sit too long in one spot. But see how, oh gosh, I don't know if it's so pretty. I wish you could see better. We're limited by the internet connection and live. But I will definitely post pictures in the school after. So I'm going to go around. And I'm not going around the edges, am I? But I will. This is what's really neat about this, is that you can enhance fabric that I was like, I have something that I could show you, but it's Christmas and I'm trying to keep it Thanksgiving. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Now I'm going around the actual applique. And this is just a straight stitch, but it's fused, so I don't have to do a lot of stitching to keep it from fraying. This is not stitching through any sticky anything, because the stick and tear is holding the fabric and we cut that window. But it feels like and behaves like it is attached to it. So elbows down, shoulders relaxed. I'm going to show you front facing camera so you can see my elbows are down. And I should be wearing my glasses. I wonder how many times I've said that this year. I should be wearing my glasses. I should lower the feed dogs. You can lower them or not lower them. Mine are up right now. Because without a foot on the machine, you do not have stitch length. It doesn't exist. It's irrelevant. The stitch length governs the feed dog pull. So this is a very quick way of appliquing. The most time-consuming part you can do sitting on the couch. Get all your fabric designs cut out, and then after they're fused down, it's really quite quick to just go around the edge. But you can take this even further. Can you imagine trying to satin stitch or even blanket stitch around that? And you have the ability to change which hole your handle is in, spin it around in any way, because you're not using a zigzag stitch, you're using a straight stitch. I just love these so much. You can go up your leaf, come back down and do. And I'm going to lower the feed ducts because that's why it's bouncing so much. And here we go. I have a new habit. Oh boy. So here I have my apple core. And I cut it off because it was too small to even bother with. So I just traced what an apple core in place of it. And since the fabric is black, it'd be really hard for anyone to notice. So this makes a pretty clean backside of your napkin. I'm thinking, so I get quiet when I think. It's not very often that I'm quiet. It's also one of the most relaxing things that I do is the free motion. Oh, I just love it. So it's your choice as to how you trace over that, what you trace first, go around the outside first, come in after, or follow the design that's right there. You don't want to cover it up too much because the whole point of this is to keep it soft so that when people use it as a napkin, they're not going, man, this is stiff and uncomfortable. Time are we at? 4:11. The dogs are going to be mad at me. She stopped and she left. I would take them with me, but I'd have to leash them up, and that'll take me too long. Almost done. I'm so relaxed. It's really quite exciting to see that the Hold Light is performing this well. Remember, this is the very first time I've ever tried this. Normally I would use our stick and rinse and then just rinse away the stabilizer. So it's going to be a little bit of work to tear the Hold Light away, but not that bad. Not with the Applique tweezers. I think the pumpkin needs some enhancement. Besides, if I do this all right now, I can take a good picture. So you guys don't have to wait to see. And I will try my best to source this fabric for you. Even if I have to buy it and sell you guys just like a quarter yard. Because I think there's still time before Thanksgiving. Although every year they come out with a new, line of holiday fabrics. This is so fun. I use this same technique for Christmas stockings that I did. And that entire time I did not break my thread at all, despite it being metallic thread. See how pretty? Well, Sandra, you know, if you want to get good at this, you just have to keep doing it and keep doing it. I want to get a picture of it, and I may even go around the design and echo stitch around it because that will make it even more elegant. And then I can fuse this to another piece of fabric, and on the back side there will be no evidence of the stitching. So I'm probably going to leave this on my machine and finish it up next week, show you how I finish around the edge, and then see where we can go with the gratitude project. Maybe this will be the gratitude project. I could actually use that, couldn't I? I could. I can give you some designs to trace onto your fabric, and then you guys, so this is a good size, right? I hope I cut it straight. I tore it. How fun. I'm excited. Let me just see if my email came in. No email yet. Probably not till tomorrow. I promise I'll let you know in the school what it's all about. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, this tutorial on making napkins. If you saw this and I didn't respond to you, it's probably because you're catching it on the replay. And this is October 21st of 2021. This is my Fabrically Speaking live show that airs every Thursday, Mountain Standard Time at 2 p.m. You guys are all about to have to fall back. This year, I believe it's November 7th. We will not be doing that. So whatever time you're watching us this year or this part of the year, you're going to have to change your time. And I will be reminding you again next week. And it's the week after that, I believe that you have to change. I got so much on my plate, I can't even think of what I think that is. Yeah. I am loopy. Let's see. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you don't know when you're live with me right now, you need to wait until you get out of the live chat to do that. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. And if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I sure hope you'll do so today. And when you hit subscribe, also click on the bell and have it do all notifications so you don't miss when I do go live in case you forget to change your clock. And because I have plans of uploading more recorded videos as well. Be sure to visit create.clarerowley.com, my online school, which is linked in the description, along with all the items you saw me use here today. And with that, let's see if any of you have any questions before I end the show. A whole yard? I'll do my best. When I say all these things, then I go, okay, I have to watch myself all over again to see all the things I promised you guys and then take over and do it. If you want to remind me in the school, hey, don't forget to source that fabric, then that will help remind me and save me from maybe forgetting. I hate to disappoint you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week. I love you guys. Bye.